What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the overall market, why the market pumped and saw a very big rug pull after something one of the Fed speakers said, and also what I think is going to play out for the charts for Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, and all these different tickers going into tomorrow as I give you guys some price predictions. But before I break the devil's information, before I talk about what's going on with the news for Tesla and all these different charts, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500 to the account, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, we saw something very interesting. In my video from yesterday, I predicted that Tesla may bounce tomorrow, see a very nice move to the upside. I was looking at 172.75, if not 174, as potential price targets for Tesla to the upside. Instead, we went all the way up to about 177, a little bit harder than expected, which is pretty awesome to witness. So my technical analysis was correct. Yesterday, we did see a move to the upside. However, as great as technical analysis is, it's not always extremely sufficient. Just because you know how to do technical analysis, it doesn't mean you're going to predict every single move the market will make perfectly. And sometimes unexpected things could happen. And what happened today was just that. So the market was pumping in the morning. Tesla hit 177. SPY was approaching its all-time high, reaching 524, just a few points under the all-time high. The QQQ was also pumping towards its all-time high. It wasn't that far away from it. The market was pumping very nicely in the morning. Part of the reason why that happened is because we saw some contraction in the labor market as initial jobless claims went up, and we also saw continuing jobless claims below expectations. The Fed wants to see some contraction in the labor market, which is showing signs that inflation is slowing down. That's also going to be very good for disinflation, so that's very important. Market was liking it, and then all of a sudden, we had a bunch of Fed speakers, and then Cash Kari from the Fed said this: it's possible that the Fed won't cut this year if inflation stalls. And what he said is very important. I do agree with him. To me personally, this was no surprise. Like, it's no surprise for him to say something like that because, like Jerome Powell said, the Fed is not ready to cut just yet. They need to look at more data first. So he made a very good point, and then the market ended up just dumping as soon as that happened. SPY was just under 524 in the morning, and then for the last couple of hours, it sold off all the way down to 512. So we saw a crazy move to the downside on SPY. Same thing on the QQQ, dropping over 12 points. Tesla dropped from 177 all the way down to 170. Now it's rebounding a bit to 172. But overall, we saw Tesla drop 7 points as a result of that as well. So Tesla is outperforming the market, closing a little bit in the green, but we saw a pump and dump like move because of what Cash Kari said. Now, why do I think Cash Kari is right to say this? Well, here's the answer why. When you look at the last CPI, it was a little bit harder than expected. On top of that, you have to look at crude oil. Crude oil is going up, gas prices are going up, and there's a very high correlation between CPI and oil. Never forget about that. So when we tend to see energy go up alongside oil, we tend to see inflation go up as a whole because it has such a big effect on different sectors out there which affect inflation. And then when you look at manufacturing numbers, they were also a little bit harder than expected a couple of days ago. So all this data is not that great, and it kind of shows us that we're not getting the contraction we'd probably want for there to be more like disinflation. Even Jerome Powell said that the ride down to 2% inflation could be a little bit bumpy. So the point we're trying to make right here is the Fed is not going to just cut for no reason. They're not just going to start cutting interest rates. They're going to wait until we get more data to do so. And that means that we need good data to come out. We're not really getting too much of it just yet. We need a little bit more of it for the Fed to get ready. And it may take many months. It could take another year by the time the Fed gets ready for their first cut. Never forget about that. I personally think that they might cut this year towards the end of the year, but if it doesn't work out, maybe by next year they will. I'm always open-minded to those. I just don't believe they're going to cut for the short term. I don't think it's going to happen as soon as the market was thinking. And that's why it's a very big change. All right, so that's why it's very important. When Cash Kari said this, the market went berserk. I do think the move is kind of exaggerated because this wasn't really that big of a deal to me. We already knew this. And I think that what's happening is the market makers are also part of the reason why the market dumped like this. Sometimes you see moves where there's a lot of call buying that happens on SPY or even put buying, and they make big moves to screw over as many of those 0 day to expiration options. We saw a lot of calls being bought. The put to call ratio is 1.01, and the market makers ended up screwing over as many of those 0 day to expirations as possible, especially on the call side. So they went after the calls this time. Remember how the market sometimes squeezes to the upside to screw shorts over when the market makers do that? Today they did the opposite. They screwed over the calls. So sometimes that happens because of their intentions and things like that. So the market makers they screwed over a lot of the options holders, and this led to this big dump. The question is, what's going to happen for tomorrow on the charts? I'll be talking about this in just a couple of minutes. I first want to go over some data really fast, and I'll break down everything else on the charts. So for tomorrow, what's happening? Tomorrow we have some very, very big data coming out for Tesla and the whole market. We have more unemployment numbers. We have the unemployment rate coming out, non-farm payrolls, the labor force participation rate, which is very important. And throughout the day, we have some Fed speakers, and then we have Barkin and Bowman, who tend to be very important later on as the day goes on. So this is very important, guys. In the beginning of the day, we have all the data coming out, the payrolls and such. This could cause the market to make a move. Hopefully, it is to the upside. Hopefully, this helps the market bounce a little bit. But then later on, as the day progresses, I would be a little bit more careful as we have more Fed speakers like Bowman. More of these hawks are going to be coming out, so they could cause the market to sink at the end of the day. And that's going to be very important. The fear and greed index is currently at neutral. We're at neutral right now. The market's not super fearful, not super greedy. We're kind of stuck in the middle, and we need to see the follow through move and how it affects the markets from there. Right now, things are still kind of greedy in terms of momentum, but things are shifting a lot. The puts and call positioning is going up as we're starting to see more puts being bought in the broader markets, and market volatility is becoming a lot more fearful as the VIX has a breakout. We'll see if we get a continuation or not. That's important to note. For SPY, don't forget that for tomorrow, we have a 1.43 put to call ratio. We have just under 600,000 of the calls expiring, and we have over very, very close to actually about 900,000 of the puts expiring. So we have a lot of puts expiring. We'll see if they end up pushing the market back up a little bit or not. That's going to depend a lot on the Fed speakers and what these market makers try to do. For this, there's been a lot of talk about Tesla raising wages for the AI workers. That's actually going to be very important for competition, according to Elon Musk. There's also news that Tesla's scouting factory locations in India, which is very important for production. And the German Gigafactory is going to help export more goods and more of these Teslas to India and other places. That's some good news as well. So all this good news was helping Tesla pump a bit, and there's a lot of interest in India right now, especially from the German Gigafactory. And with Tesla scouting for these different locations, with the new tax regulations that have changed a bit, this could be very, very useful for them. So this is some very, very good stuff. They're proposing a $2 to $3 billion amount of investment into India by Tesla. That's a good piece of news. There's also some more discounts coming up. You guys can see as inventories are piling up, Tesla is now adding more and more to its inventory by 46,000, and we could see even more discounts from what we're already seeing by several thousands of dollars. We're going to be looking for more price adjustments. We're going to be looking for more potential price cuts, and we could be seeing more discounts increasing by $3,000 to $4,000 depending on how things go. So that's something worth noting. We're going to be looking to see the new inventory vehicle discounts come after Tesla increased the price of the Model Y. So there could be more price cuts coming to Tesla. I just wanted to call this out, and there's a lot of talk about this. As far as Tesla goes, we had 123 million in volume. Volume went up as Tesla started to run. Tesla still closed green despite the market being red, showing some strength. The price versus short volume came down as we saw a lot of buyers stepping in. Baird is saying that Tesla will outperform the market. Deutsche Bank is saying the same thing. Moving forward, the price price ratio is coming up a bit as Tesla's gaining some strength. Fridays tend to be green about 49% of the time. Watch for volatility at 10 a.m. and also at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And April is historically a good month for Tesla. We'll see if we get a good April or not. This could also depend on the markets. Things are in a very, very interesting place. As far as things go, we saw a lot of sell orders not too long ago from Tesla. And now we're seeing some very, very mixed orders in terms of inside trades. Very mixed data for Tesla, at least in terms of those. So now I want to talk about the charts. How are things looking in my honest opinion? Well, I think that the market dropped really hard and too fast, and we are due for a little rebound. And I think the market may attempt to rebound a bit before we see other moves like that. So let me just say that Tesla is also holding up very nicely. It's still showing some strength, and I think that Tesla has potential to try to rebound as well. So looking at the way the market is moving, especially when you look at the 1 hour time frame of Tesla, it's still on an uptrend. It's still holding up very, very well from this chart. I'll talk about Tesla in just a minute. I want to talk about SPY and say something as well. Let me just clear this out just a little bit and show you guys something. So when looking at SPY, we can actually take a very, very handy dandy Fibonacci retracement tool, and you guys can see that this is going to be key as well. When we look at this top and come back down here from this low, if we do make an attempt to get back up higher, the 0.382 retracement zone happens to be very close to where this previous support happens to be. So this is like previous support becoming resistance. This is going to be a key level in my opinion. I think that SPY could attempt to get up to this level at 516.88. We also have our 200 EMA very close to this 518 to 519.5 area, and that's actually aligning with our 0.618 retracement. So I believe personally that there is potential in SPY to rebound a bit, but whether or not this continues will depend on the Fed. So, yes, we have all this data coming out with the manufacturing numbers, with the unemployment. I'm hoping that this could actually causes a bit of a rebound in the markets. I do think that technicals suggest that. I think that this could also positively affect Tesla. Look for SPY to get back up to 515 then 516.5. This is going to be our resistance levels. And if we do break through this, this is going to be a tight resistance since this is the previous support. If we break through 516.5, look for a push all the way up to the 518 plus area. And then once we're in this tight resistance, we'll have to see how it performs. But I think there's going to be a little gap up and a little rebound coming. And then we're going to see if we get a big rejection or not. Because later on, we have these Fed speakers like Barkin and Bowman. Are they about to cause a big rejection from here or not? We'll just have to wait and see in real time. So what I anticipate is the market will rebound a bit, but then we'll have to see if we get a big rejection later on, depending on what the Fed speakers say. That is my general view of this market so far. Watch 512 as key support alongside 510. On SPY, I just want to note that it is due for a little rebound, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So, with that being said, at least on SPY, what do I see for Tesla? I see something very similar, kind of like developing on the chart. I think that Tesla's on a bit of an uptrend, showing some strength, and I think that it's going to attempt to test its 200 EMA again around 170, very close to 174, not too far from that. We also have 175, which is where we have this imbalance. I believe that Tesla is going to try to rebound a bit into this 174 to 175 area, and we'll see if it breaks through this or not, but it might shuffle up here for a bit, and then we could make a move back down depending on the Fed speakers. I'm not 100% sure about what the Fed speakers will say, so I'll watch that in real time, but I think that Tesla will attempt to rebound a bit first, and then we'll see what the reaction is from there. Also, watch support at 170.5. If we lose that, watch 167.8. I think Tesla's going to push higher, get back into this key zone, shuffle for a bit, and we'll see if we end up dropping back down later on or not. So just be careful. It is a Friday. Fridays are known for manipulation, but this imbalance might get filled up here, so we might be looking for a push on Tesla. I find that's to be very, very probable. For the QQQ, we have resistance right here at 436. We also have 438 to be watching for. And then above that, we have 440.5. For support, you're going to be watching 434 basically is going to be our critical support, followed by 432. I think that the QQQ is going to do something very similar to SPY, try to get back up towards this imbalance around 438. And if we break through this, 440 to 442 is coming. 438 is going to be key. If we break through this, I see a bigger push coming. That's where we had previous support becoming resistance. So that's going to be key. Excuse me. In my opinion, I think the QQQ is going to try to make its way back up, and then we'll have to see what the big reaction ends up being. But I see potential in the QQQ to try to make its way back up temporarily, and we'll see what the reaction is once we hit these key EMAs. For NVIDIA, it's very similar. NVIDIA is kind of tricky because with the head and shoulders like structure, we'll have to see where the bottom happens to be. With the head and shoulders, it could actually come all the way down towards like either 850 to 855. I predict that the temporary bottom, very, very temporary bottom, right? It's going to be around, already in possibly, or it could be a little bit lower. And we might make an attempt to get back up right over here at this 875 area. I find that to be a very, very key level because that happens to be right in between this key retracement zone. And also that's where our imbalance happens to be. So I think that NVIDIA will rebound a little bit. I think we're going to get a small rebound, which is going to help the QQQ temporarily. Then we'll chop around here and make our way back down. And we could make our way back down. It's very possible because NVIDIA is showing some weakness. So I find that to be very likely. And I think that the QQQ is going to follow this trend. Aapl was in a very, very interesting place. I called out an inverse head and shoulders on Aapl. This played out very nicely. We had the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. We pushed up to 172, then got a massive rejection back down to 169. So it got a big rug pull. And I think that we could see something very similar tomorrow. I think that it's going to rebound first to the 50 EMA at 170. Then we'll see if it breaks through this or not. Watch 170.5 and 170.9 as resistance. This entire zone right here might push a little bit into the 170s. Then we could be making our way back down, or we could just be losing support from there. But if we hold above 170 and close above that, there's going to be an attempt to rebound. If we push up and then end up rejecting again, we could continue to sink. I think at the very least, we're going to get a small rebound, and we'll see what the move is from there. With that being said, guys, I went over the main five I typically go over, especially Tesla. I think Tesla is showing some strength and it's going to attempt to rebound a bit more. I don't think that Tesla is done quite yet. I'm seeing some strength in the chart. Look for a push back up to the key resistance levels. Might push a bit, come back down as the day goes on, depending on the Fed speakers, and we'll see what happens from there. But I'm seeing an attempt to bounce on Tesla again. Now, for the rest of the market out there, I want to talk about what I'm seeing on these charts. For Palantir, I'm seeing a potential rebound as well, a retest of about 22.76 to 23. Can go a little bit higher, then make our way back down, but I am seeing a little potential for that because of the fact that it's holding its structure. And overall, I think it's going to retest the 200 EMA. So look for that retest before it comes back down. For Supermicro, I know a lot of people are still watching this. I know it's very fun to trade for a lot of people out there. Supermicro, in my opinion, is also showing some weakness. It's on a bit of a decline, if anything. And the reason why that's important is because of the fact that it likes to kind of follow NVIDIA. Now, we have resistance at 980 and 1000 and 1020. We have support right over here around this 950 area. If we lose this, a bigger drop is coming towards 920. I think that this thing is going to rebound to 980, and we might try to break this towards these EMAs right here around this 1000 area. Then we might shuffle a bit and then come back down lower. So I find that's to be very, very probable. For Rivian, I think that we have a head and shoulders like structure. We're not really done with the full move down. Might retest our 5 EMA, try to push up for like 10.5, and then make our way back down lower. So watch for that as well very carefully. So look for a little rebound and a drop. For, let's see what else is there. We also have SoFi, in my opinion, is looking decent. We're kind of stuck between supply over here. Sorry, we have this demand zone right here, and then we have supply up here. We're just going like back and forth and back and forth. It's kind of stuck. It's been back and forth for a really, really long time in a very tight range. So, I mean, we could push a little bit higher. Could be looking for a test about 7.5, then a rejection again. I think that this chart's looking kind of bearish. Might pop and drop or drop from here. Not looking the best in my opinion, but look for a little pop and drop like move. Now, AMD had this range. We had the yellow EMA, that's our 50 EMA, and the 200 below at the red one. It's been going back and forth for quite some time. Today, we ended up getting a big break below. So it's showing some weakness, but going to be looking for a retest of 168 to 170 and see if we get a rejection to drop lower or not. AMD is looking really weak, guys, even compared to like NVIDIA and the others. So I'm seeing weakness in this chart. It's not even getting much of a rebound right now. We also have like a head and shoulders like structure. How, this is like a head up here. This is a left shoulder. This is like a right shoulder. So I do see potential for this to drop a little bit lower. Maybe it pops a little bit and then starts dropping back down, all the way down towards the low 160 area. We're barely holding 165. The chart looks weaker than the broader markets. So AMD is not looking too great. Could it pop a little bit? It sure could, but it's likely going to come back down lower. Not looking that great. ARM is still in a bit of a downtrend, showing some weakness as well. Could retest 123 again one more time and then start sinking all the way down to about basically 120. So I do see a risk of this coming back down lower. For Coinbase, I'm seeing something very interesting. We have a head and shoulders, and it's showing some weakness right here. It's the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. They might not be done with the full move. We're testing this trend line, so we have to bounce off this trend line. If we bounce off of this, look for a test of about 252. If we if we try to bounce and we just fail and we lose this trend line as support, we're going to be coming all the way down towards the 240 support as well. So I think that with this head and shoulders and this downtrend, coins looking a little bit weaker, could pop and drop or kind of drop from here and start sinking. So that's going to be very, very important. For Amazon, we're on a bit of a downtrend. I mean, we're still uptrending technically, but we have this like big drop that could turn into a downtrend. Excuse me, guys. I wanted to clarify what I just said. A little mistake I made. But here's the thing: we're holding, from what I'm looking at, 180 very well. If we get a back test of 181, I do think this thing could actually push up to 181.5. And our support's 179.63. If we lose this, we start sinking to about 178. So I think that it's going to retest 181 and come back, and we'll see if it holds 180. If it holds 180, we could rebound. If we lose 180, we're going to be coming all the way down to about 178. So watch this support very, very carefully. Every time it hits this yellow EMA, it bounces. So there is a possibility it tries to rebound from here. I think it might rebound a little bit to retest like 181.5 or maybe a little higher. And then we'll see if we get a rejection down later or not. But that's how I'm kind of seeing this moving. A little pop and drop like move. Make sure you watch support just to be safe, but that's what I'm seeing on the chart. For Meta, I think that Meta is going to retest 515. I think it's going to rebound and go back up to this resistance, and we'll see if it breaks or not. If we break through this, we could push higher. If we hit 515 and reject, we're going to be coming back down lower to about 505. I'm going to be watching this just to be safe, so watch this on Meta. We got a nice breakout from the falling wedge we called out, but watch that test. For Microsoft, are showing a little bit of weakness. Look for a back test of about this 420 area. Could get a little bit close to 420, and we'll see if it rejects. If it rejects, we could be sinking all the way down to 415. If we break past that, we could be pushing back up. So look for a pop and drop or a drop from here. I am seeing some potential. For Google, we were talking about this rejection. It kind of popped and came back down. I am seeing some weakness on the chart. We're barely holding 150. So watch resistance around this 154, 152 area, then 154 above that. Watch support at 150 if we lose this. I do see 148. The chart looks a bit more bearish to me. I think it could retest 152 and then come back down lower, all the way down. And we also have a gap down here in 142. So I do see potential for this to drop. Might pop first and drop or continue to sink. The chart looks a bit more bearish. The VIX is trying to break out right now. We'll have to see if we get a continuation up or not. Sometimes you see these things drop a little bit, back test key support, then come back up higher. So I'm going to be watching this move on the VIX. I'm still kind of indecisive on this. And for the dollar, watch the 50 EMA. If we break 104.5, 104.35, we could push higher. That's going to be bearish for the markets. If we push to this resistance and reject, if it rejects, that will be bullish for the markets. And if we break out, that's going to be bearish. In my opinion, the dollar is showing a little strength. It might push a little bit more, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not. If it breaks out more, that's going to be bearish for the markets. So I'll just watch for that test. So anyways, guys, that is it for the video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. We'll have to see what happens to Tesla and the broader markets, but so far Tesla is showing some strength on the chart. I see potential for Tesla to push a little bit higher. So it might push a little higher tomorrow. It's going to test some key resistance, and then we'll see what these Fed speakers cause tomorrow. They could cause some more volatility, so just be very, very careful. With that being said, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Tesla to the moon because the long term is very, very bright, and peace out.